Why is it that the people who are always there for everyone else end up feeling the most alone? If you're watching this video, you're probably that person. You drop everything to help others, you say yes when every fiber of your being wants to say no. And despite all this giving, you feel invisible. But here's what's really happening that no one talks about, and by the end of this video, you'll understand the 3 hidden psychological traps that keep you stuck in this cycle. But before we dive into those traps, let me tell you something that might shock you. Your constant availability isn't making you more loved, it's actually making you less valued. And there's a specific reason why this happens that has nothing to do with the people around you and everything to do with how the human brain is wired. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, let's talk about the safety trap. When you're always available, you think you're being generous, but you're actually being safe. Think about it. It's easier to say yes than to risk disappointing someone. It's easier to drop your plans than to have that uncomfortable conversation about boundaries. But here's the problem with playing it safe, and this connects to something much deeper that we need to understand about human psychology. You see, there's a fundamental principle at work here, and once you understand it, everything will make sense. But I need to explain the second trap first, because without understanding both, the solution won't work. The second trap is what I call the background noise effect. When you're always available, you become predictable. And here's the thing about predictability. It's the enemy of appreciation. We value what's scarce. We treasure what requires effort to obtain. When you're always there, always saying yes, you're essentially telling the world that your time has no value. But there's something even more dangerous happening here, and this is where most people get it completely wrong. They think the problem is other people taking advantage. That's not the real problem. The real problem is what constant availability does to your own sense of self. And this is critical to understand because it leads us to the third trap. The third trap is the abandonment cycle. And this is the most important one. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're not just helping someone else, you're abandoning yourself. And here's the cruel irony that keeps you stuck. The more you abandon yourself, the more you need validation from others. The more you need validation, the more available you become. It's a vicious cycle, but there's a way out. Now, before I show you how to break free from this cycle, you need to understand something crucial. The solution isn't about becoming selfish or uncaring. If you try to just stop being available without understanding the psychology behind it, you'll either give up after a few days or you'll swing too far in the other direction and damage your relationships. The real solution has 3 parts, and they all work together. Miss one, and the whole thing falls apart. The first part is about understanding what I call intentional scarcity, but you can't apply this without understanding the second part, which is about energy allocation. And both of these are useless without the third part, which is the boundary implementation system. Let's start with intentional scarcity. This isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating people. It's about making your yes meaningful because it's no longer guaranteed. When you stop being automatically available, your help becomes valuable because it's not assumed. But here's the key, and this is where most people mess up. You can't just randomly start saying no. There's a specific way to do this that maintains your relationships while increasing your value. You need to create what I call availability windows. Instead of being available all the time, you decide when you're available. But this only works if you understand the second part, energy allocation. You see, when you're not spreading yourself thin across every request, you have more energy to show up fully for the relationships that actually matter. Think about it this way. If you have $100 and you give $1 to 100 people, no one feels particularly helped. But if you give $50 to 2 people who really need it, you've made a real difference. Your availability works the same way, but you can't just reallocate randomly. You need the third part. The boundary implementation system is where everything comes together. This isn't just about saying no. It's about saying no in a way that actually increases respect rather than creating resentment. And there's a specific phrase that changes everything. But before I tell you what it is, you need to understand why it works. When someone asks you to do something, your automatic response is probably to either say yes immediately or to start explaining why you can't. Both of these responses decrease your value. The first makes you too available. The second makes you seem like you're making excuses. But there's a third option that does something completely different. The phrase is this: let me check my schedule and get back to you. This simple sentence does 3 things simultaneously. First, it implies that your time is valuable and already allocated. Second, it gives you time to think before responding. Third, it positions you as someone who makes intentional decisions about their time. But here's what makes this really powerful, And this is the part that ties everything together. When you use this phrase consistently, something magical happens. People start to see you differently. They begin to value your time because you clearly value it. They appreciate your help more because it's not guaranteed. And most importantly, they start to see you as a whole person with your own needs, not just a resource for their convenience. Now, here's what's going to happen when you start implementing this. Some people will get uncomfortable. Some might even get angry. But here's the truth that changes everything. The people who get angry when you set boundaries are the people who are benefiting from your lack of them. The people who call you selfish for having needs are the people who are comfortable with you ignoring them. But the people who truly care about you will do something different. They'll respect your boundaries, they'll appreciate your honesty, they'll value your time more because they know it's limited. And this is how you know you're doing it right. So here's your action plan. Starting today, use that phrase. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. Every single time someone asks for your time or energy, notice how it feels. Notice the urge to explain or justify. Resist that urge. Create your availability windows. Decide when you're available for others and when you're not. Make that time for yourself non-negotiable. And remember, your availability is not your worth. Your willingness to help is not your identity. When you stop being available to everyone, you become more available to yourself. And that's when you discover who you are when you're not defined by your usefulness to others. That's when you become magnetic instead of just accommodating. That's when your presence becomes a gift instead of a guarantee.